Got wave.
Harvard Health Publishing, the Health Information Division of Harvard Medical School, in its September 27, 2024 article, said, exercising regularly, every day if possible, is the single most important thing you can do for your health. The next few minutes, I will explain how to build an exercise program. Before I touch on that, a little bit about me. Over the past 3 years, I've completed 3 internships in the exercise science field, where I've worked with and trained the general population and athletes ranging from middle school all the way up to the professional levels. Understanding how an exercise program is built provides insight into how to properly train. An exercise program is built through 2 ways, first being proper planning and the second being progressive improvement. First, I'll explain how an exercise program is properly planned, and then I'll touch on how that planning creates progress. Now that I've introduced the topic, let's explore proper planning. Proper planning is determined by 2 things, first being training volume and the second being exercise selection. Kate Neudecker, a personal trainer and writer for Men's Health UK, wrote an article for Men's Health on August 22nd, 2024, where she says, training volume refers to the total amount of work done in a given time frame. According to Neudecker, training volume is essentially what you get done when you work out. An example of training volume would be, let's say we'll take someone who does 4 sets of 8 reps of an exercise, and then you do 4 times 8, that's 32, that's the total amount of work that they did. Training volume is just one way exercises are programmed. Proper planning is also determined by exercise selection. Louis Simmons, owner of Westside Barbell Gym, wrote Westside Barbell Book of Methods in 2007. Where he writes, the level of success an athlete can achieve with their strength training program depends on a few factors. First, a training program must be appropriately structured. This calls for exercises to be organized correctly. Additionally, exercise selection must be relevant to the athlete. Simmons' words describe the role of choosing exercises that match the program. An example of exercise selection would be, we'll take someone who is going to hit chest. So they start their workout off with a bench press. And once they are done with their bench press, they taper into movements that cater towards that bench press, things that are going to build their shoulders, their pecs, their triceps. You would not do a leg exercise to build your chest. Now that I've covered proper planning, let's explore progressive improvement. Progressive improvement is determined by 2 things, first being progressive overload and the second being consistency. Zia Sherrill, a health journalist with over a decade of experience, wrote an article for Medical News Today on August 19, 2022, where she writes, progressive overload training involves gradually increasing the intensity or difficulty of your workouts over time. Sherrill's words explain progressive overload and how it is applied in exercise. An example of progressive overload would be, we'll take someone who runs 1 mile a week. So every week they run their mile, and then eventually they say, I'm gonna run 1.5 miles. That's a direct increase of difficulty and intensity over time. Progressive overload is also determined by consistency. Omar Argote, a personal trainer, wrote an article for Mike's Fitness on October 15, 2024, where he writes, when it comes to fitness, there's no magic pill or quick fix. The key to achieving long-term success is consistency. Argote describes the idea that consistency is almost like the glue that holds your program together. So you can properly plan and do all the progressive overload, but without consistency, you'll never see the progress that you want. An example of consistency would be working out 4 times. If that's what your program calls for you to do, is work out 4 times a week, you're working out 4 times a week. If it says, do this many sets, you're doing that many sets. If it says to do this exercise, you're doing that exercise. That is what consistency looks like in a program. Now that we've covered progressive improvement and proper planning, let's review. In conclusion, in the last few minutes, I share with you how to build an exercise program. I discussed how exercise programming is organized and how progress is applied over time. To reiterate, an exercise program is built through proper planning and progressive improvement. Harvard Health Publishing, the Health Information Division of Harvard Medical School, in its September 27, 2024 article, said, exercising regularly, every day if possible, is the single most important thing you can do for your health.